You want to?
Oh, that's fine.
Or the pulpit, I guess. You might,
Well, I'm a preacher's son. So
that's what I knew. So here you go. It's my great honor to introduce our speaker today, Charles Booker. If you had read this book, and I recommend the book, you would know that he's a Louisvillian, a Mel High School graduate, U of L grad, U of L Law School grad, worked for state government. He was the representative in the 43rd district. That was Darrell Owens' district.
That's right.
And for 2 terms, and now he's been has run, I guess, 3 times. Right?
This is Rocky 3.
Rocky 3. The thing that interests me, though, is your book. I read the book, the clever alliteration from the hood to the holler. But here's what interests me: a story of separate worlds, shared dreams, and if you think about it, hard times on the banks of the Ohio are no different than hard times on the Big Sandy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A deferred dream in Park Hill is no different than a deferred dream in Pikeville, right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. And if you have type 1 diabetes, every day is an issue about medical coverage, right?
Every day. Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the last part, the fight for America's future.
That's it. That's what we're fighting for. Well, first of all, thank you all for the opportunity to come now, because I know it's been a journey getting this set up, and I owe everyone in this room a hug if you'll let me. And you know, there's something that's so powerful about a testimony. I am a preacher's son. I'm not gonna preach at y'all today, or take an offering. Although I could tell you my website after this. But you know, just hearing those words echoed back to me, man, I felt chills, because I know that's why God still has me here. And I believe that it's why we are all here in our fields, our gifts, the work that we do is all about how we find a way to see each other, to connect to one another, to make love real in the world, to shine light and to do our part to make this place better. And my journey and what's really cool about this, so my daughter took this picture. This is in Portland, and actually next week I'm about to take her to college. So she just graduated from Central High School. She's going away to Norfolk State, and so we're gonna do a road trip together. So actually when I leave, we're still getting stuff ready for the trip while I'm running this race and getting ready for Fancy Farm and all that. But I never thought that I would be in a position like this. I definitely didn't seek it out. What I did seek is to just do my part for my family. And you all are my family. If you've heard me say that, you know I mean it. You're my family, and we need each other. And my granddad's my hero, Sergeant Lindsey E. Hearn Sr. I got his handkerchief in my pocket. I always carry one of his handkerchiefs. He taught me that you fight for your family. And I come from a really big family, one of over 70 grandkids. It's over 70. I stopped counting. There are more, but it was just no point in trying to keep up. And part of the way that our family grew is, well, they had 11 children biologically, 7 stair steps. I don't know how my grandma did that. That is just outrageous. But they opened their home to foster care. And so for over 3 decades, my grandparents' house, it was grandma's house. Granddad was very clear about that. They turned their home into basically like the community center. It's on 38th and Parker, so in the West End. Basically anyone who needed food, needed some help, they went to grandma's house. A lot of times when I would go to school, so I did go to Mel, so no offense if you're a manual graduate or don't be too hard on me, but I was bused to Barrett Middle School and then Mel. And a lot of times after school, I'd go to grandma's house until mom was done with work or just to be with my cousins. And then there'd be strangers in there. Somebody would be in the kitchen getting something to eat, and we'd be in line together. And it was a very common thing. And so I was just taught early on what it looks like to have an open heart, to see how you're connected to those around you, and to do your part in loving them and helping. Because I said we all need each other. And that's really what this has amounted to for me. It has turned into me running for office, but it's bigger than political office. To me, it is a part of the work of helping us heal so that we can all dream and surpass our dreams, so that we're not weighed down by a lot of the challenges that I've experienced growing up, which is it's really incredible that I got to write a memoir about my life journey, as if folks want to hear about what I've gone through. But I get to tell a story that I believe honors you, that honors Kentucky, and I hope that not only that the story makes you proud, but that the work I do, I hope that it makes you proud. So I'll tell you a little bit about the book. Yes, I did write it, and I wrote it while gearing up for a Senate run. So that's the perfect thing to do to yourself. If you really want to be stressed out, run for U.S. Senate with small children and spend 40 to 60 hours a week writing a memoir, because it's an extensive process, and we truncated it down because, of course, I was going to be campaigning. And there's an audio book that took me about 2 weeks to record, so you can hear me do my best rendition of my granddad. I won't do it now because I'll get emotional. But the book starts with one of the most powerful moments in my life. Some of y'all may have seen, there was this viral clip where I was on the House floor, and I was talking about just the hypocrisy that was happening in the legislature, where some of my colleagues were claiming to be pro-life, but had recently voted on a bill, the gang bill, if y'all remember that several years back, that would essentially expand the definition of what it would mean to be considered a gang, made it so loose that me and my cousins could essentially just be a gang, and if one of my cousins got in trouble, we all could get in trouble. And it was at the same time that they were passing permitless concealed carry legislation. So taking away protections to make sure that if someone's holding a firearm, using it, they know how to use it. Just baseline, making sure you know what you're doing. And law enforcement came out against that legislation. A lot of organizations were against that legislation. It was a unifier. It was a hood to the holler moment. I spoke out about what that legislation would mean, in the sense of being a black man. In my experience here, I've had 7 cousins murdered here in this city. And what I know from not only my lived experience, but just throughout history, is that depending on where you are, the color of your skin could reflect as you being treated as a deadly weapon before being seen as a human being. We know that. That's a lot of why you do the work that you do. And so I was calling out that hypocrisy in the face of an abortion bill. This was heavy stuff. And that's why I got these grades I've been plucking out of my beard. And so I started the book by telling the story about this moment. I found this courage to speak up. And I remember sitting in the chamber, and whenever I speak, I always pray that the words I speak make a difference. I feel like every breath we have is a gift, and I don't want to waste my words or your time. And so I prayed in there before I pushed my button to get up to speed, because the legislation was to ban all abortion access, no exceptions. And it was being framed under the notion of protecting life. At the same time, these other bills were moving that could essentially take more lives. And, we get 3 minutes to speak. I was timing it. That's one thing about being a preacher's kid. So whenever they tell you give them 5 more minutes, they know exactly what they're doing. So I knew I had 10 seconds left. And, they were cutting my mic off, because they didn't like what I was saying at the time, because I was calling them out. And, I hugged them afterwards. I'm like, look, I'm gonna rough you up in here, but I'm gonna love on you, because I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to fight for what I believe. And at the end of the day, we're family. And that's how I would treat them. Hardcore Trump supporters, folks who disagree with me, whenever I see them, hey, brother, hey, sister, I love you. And that's really how my politics is out in the state. And I set up the book from that standpoint, really just to shock the conversation of where are we? And where in the world are we going? And you all see the division in our politics. You see the news headlines, and I hope you're not reading all of them so that you can regulate your blood pressure. But every day there's a new level of crazy. And of course, in our politics at the federal level, I mean, I've called it the Twilight Zone. I don't think that's a good enough description. I know I'm dating myself with the Twilight Zone, but I also know some of you appreciate the Twilight Zone. Down is up. The idea that there were norms, those are all shredded. The notion that democracy is secure, our pursuit of it, because we're still trying to get it right. But that notion, of course, you all see is being eroded in our faces. It's being gutted in our faces. And we got every good reason to just throw our hands up and say, forget about it. I'm gonna take care of my family. I'm gonna do the best I can, and that'll be that. But a seed was planted in me. And I give my mom so much credit for it. And I write about this in the book of her sacrifices for me. I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know if you've read it. You may have heard me describe it. I'm gonna do this without getting emotional, I think. My mom showed me the power of love and let me know that my life matters too much to sit down while my loved ones are hurting or while our hopes for the future are being taken away. So the sacrifice she planted in me when I was little is what I carry to this day. And she's made a lot of them, but one that really changed my life was the day I figured out she was going without eating to feed me. Now, we weren't poor, but we did not have any money. Folks across Kentucky know that story. We don't call ourselves poor, but yeah, when we went in the house, we had to take all our clothes off. We was in our undies because we didn't have air conditioning. Sometimes we come in the house, there was no lights because couldn't afford it. Sometimes we didn't have a home. But we weren't poor because we knew what faith meant. We knew what family is all about. We knew we had each other. And so this period of time, I was in middle school. And every day after school, like I said, if I was going over grandma's house, as I mentioned, then I'd go play basketball. And I'd come home, do my homework, and we'd sit down and eat. This was our ritual. This was how we would catch up. She'd ask me how my day went. She'd tell me how her day went. And this happened over a period of a week where I would come home, sit down at the table, ready for us to eat our instant macaroni or Spam or whatever it was. She made it good. And she didn't sit down. And, my eyebrows like, well, you all right? And Mom was like, I'm okay, baby, you just eat. And I let it slide. I will never forget this. I said I wasn't gonna get emotional. I'm already fumbling. It took about 3 days because each day that passed, I'm getting more and more aggravated. Like, something's going on here. I'm hungry. I know you hungry. So why aren't we, this is our time together. And for those days, she was like, son, I just need you to eat. Mama's okay. And I thought about it at school. And I was like, if she does this again, I'm not letting her leave the kitchen without explaining to me what's going on here. And she did it again. And I was like, no, Mom, what is going on? This is the time we're supposed to have together. We always talk about things. We always sit down and eat. You gotta be hungry. Why are you not eating? And I remember she stopped at the doorway and it was like she pulled the curtain back. And when we stand on the stage in November, after winning this race, it'll be because of that moment. She stopped at the doorway, she turned around and she said, well, son, and I felt like something in her spirit was like, I need to tell him. She said, son, well, there's only enough food for you. Mama's going without eating so you can have what you need. Because I need you to be strong. I need you to be strong so you can go out in the world and do what God has for you to do. I actually have never really told the end of that part. When I saw that, it broke me, but it also lit a fire in me. And I just counted a blessing that I get to tell this story because it's not a partisan story. And yeah, I'm from the West End, but it's not just a West End story, because if you haven't lived the experiences that I write about in this book, you know somebody who has. You're close to someone who has. You work with someone who has. You worship with someone who has. You've stood beside them. You've laid on their shoulder. And I said it may just very well be you. And what I realized when I decided to run against my mentor, that's in the book too. There's some tea in here, because I've worked at every level of government. I was at Metro Council, was in the mayor's office, worked with Congressman Yarmouth. I worked in D.C. with Congressman Gregory Meeks, and then both Bashirs. I was a director of Fish and Wildlife, and so I capture all this in here. But one of the things that really stood out to me as I worked in all these spaces were how so many people who seem to be different have so much in common. And it was Fish and Wildlife that did it for me. So again, this is in the book. I have a chapter all about Fish and Wildlife. I encourage you to read this, because this is ultimately why I decided to run for U.S. Senate. Because this was not on the realm. This was nothing I would have ever considered had I not worked at the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So I was a director of administrative services. So hiring, firing, EEO complaints. I did all the trainings. I was putting together the HR, the handbook for the department. Any of you all who have been connected to Fish and Wildlife, you know that this is not just a government agency. It's a way of life. It's culture. There's a lot of faith woven into it. It's legacy. A lot of folks who have worked there, their parents worked there, their children worked there. It's a way of life. And so in a lot of ways, they're like, why do we need a handbook? This is what we do. It's like, no, we got to make sure that we're tracking where the money is going, and that if someone is hurt on the job, that they got protections. And if someone feels like their rights are being, infringed upon, or they're being discriminated against, we need to make sure that they are protected. So I had to do these trainings across Kentucky. Now, mind you, Fish and Wildlife at that time was about 700 employees, including the seasonal and temp. There were only 3 Black people in the department. And of course, I'm a director. I actually never met the 2 other Black employees, because they were out in the state. I didn't get to meet everyone. So most of the rooms I'm in, in the Hollers, far west Kentucky, central Kentucky, I'm the only person who looks like me, comes from where I come from. And, I got my Fish and Wildlife badge on. I come in, and the room, it's a lot of confused faces. Like, where is he doing doing in here? They sent me on a trip. They sort of hazed me up a little bit. Went to conservation camp, and they were like, look, if you're gonna be here, you gotta learn how to use a gun. I was like, well, where I'm from, when there are gunshots, it's not for deer and elk, So, but at the same time, I understood and I respected how important that the work meant to them. Like I said, this is something that they breathe. And I was like, I want to honor you by making sure that this agency works effectively, that we take care of our natural resources, that we take care of our home. And so I committed to it. And part of how I was able to build relationships, which again is why we're going to win this race, is by being vulnerable, just like I am now, telling my story, speaking my truth, and then shutting up and listening. And I'm telling you, I dare you, this is what you do. So I'm preaching to the choir. I know I am, but I have never been proven wrong. You take enough time to sit down and talk to someone. If you're listening and they're listening a little, you're gonna find something in common. I have yet to be proven wrong. If I got time with Mitch McConnell, I think, cut the camera off. I think Mitch McConnell has been gone a long time ago. I don't know what his health status is, but he checked out on us a long time ago. I'll put it that way. But even if I had time with him, I would not take that time. I'll just say that. Not too much, a little. I pray first, but we'd find something in common too. He's battled health issues just like I have. I say all that to say that we can find our way through this, but it's gonna take us seeing ourselves and seeing each other. And what I wrote as my life story and my lens on the best place in the world. I love Kentucky. All my family's from here. and it's one of the most beautiful places. And going west in the fall, you're like driving through a painting. It's the most incredible thing. But, you know, I've seen so many people hurting, that while I thought this was just my life story, I feel like it's a bit of a handbook of how we can all use our own testimony, our own journey, to be a source of hope, a source of love in a dark, crazy world. And I believe the fight for America's future goes through Kentucky, places like Kentucky, the places that get forgotten about, that get written off, the places that are judged, and a lot of people who feel no one cares. I've sat in those rooms, a room bigger than this, with coal miners in East Kentucky. And to hear the stories of livelihoods that have been taken away, folks trying to just take care of their family, even if that means they got to go into these mines and come out with black lung. They'll do whatever they got to do. Just make sure their children can be okay. That's the story. That if we could remember that collectively, we can fight for the changes we need. And the only way we lose is by forgetting that we're in this daggone thing together. So I know that it's 12:56. I can share some other like really great stories in here. And I definitely want to give you the chance to ask some questions. I am an open book, obviously. I take a lot of pride in the fact that my parents gave me permission to be myself. And so what you see is what you get. But also being the young guy, not so young now, but youngish guy in all these rooms. I was in Washington when the financial reg reform legislation was moving forward. And sitting in Frankfurt is some of the biggest moments, the sewer bill, you know, when the teachers organized and our union and loved ones organized across Kentucky, being in the middle of all of that, I've seen what's possible when we find our way back to each other. And I think you all might agree with me that we need that now. So I'll think of one other really incredible story. Okay, here's one. God, there's so many. And like I said, I'll give you a chance to ask some questions too, because I know, like I said, I was super late. I'll tell you why. You all know what I'm doing, running for U.S. Senate. So I've been meeting with some of my future colleagues and trying to build support for Kentucky, even while I'm running. So I'm working for you even before I get in the office. And so that's what I was doing, have some conversation with some members to try to push, as we're still getting funding for disaster relief. There's a lot of big decisions that are happening right now that we only have one senator there for, and I'll sit that down. I just want you to know that I take your time very, very valuably, and I appreciate you being here. One other story I'll tell you. So I'm in the state capitol, and you know, I told you about when they turned my mic off, and like I said, I was yelling out, "My life matters too," and when I was yelling it, I was intentional. I was like, I want my voice to hit those glass windows up top and rattle them. I was intending to shout as loud as I could in there that my life matters too, because in my mind, I was visualizing y'all. I'm visualizing Kentuckians that feel like nobody listens to us. Everybody turns our mic off. So after that moment, people started to recognize me. And so I'd have some very unique experiences in the hall. So things have changed in Frankfurt now, but back then in the hallways, you'd have a lot of organizations and groups and lobbyists. There'd be people that are cheering for you, holding signs. There'd be people that were not cheering for you. And because so many people noticed me there, I got a following. So people would sort of follow me around. And I always had these incredible encounters. This one in particular was like one of the best. So I was walking into the annex, and I didn't have anyone with me because sometimes there was like sheriffs. There were folks from time to time, or some of the other legislators, Rep. Scott or Rep. Meeks, somebody would be with me. I was by myself this time. And the gold doors open up. This guy walks out. He's like 6'5", 6'6", so he's towering. Has overalls on. Large white guy. I didn't get where he's from, but he sounded to me like he was from Appalachia. I don't want to put him in a box, but he had his overalls on. Looked like he had just gotten off of work. He may have just left the farm, and he's heading to me with a full head of steam. And I'm like, oh Lord, what, you know? I was like, look, I ain't gonna go out like a chump. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna throw at least one before he takes me out. And so I'm preparing because I don't know what's about to happen. And I did what I always do. Like I told you, I see you as my family. So I was like, okay, before I feed what I think might happen, I'm gonna love on this guy. I was like, hey brother, how you doing? And he's coming with some pep in his step. And when he gets up to me, he puts his hand on my shoulders. He could just toss me up out of it. And tears start coming down his eyes. And I see it, like his lips quivering. He's got his hands on my shoulders, and he's like, Rep. Booker, thank you. I know you aren't from where I'm from, but when you speak, I know you're talking for me. And then he started telling me his story. And in that time, he still had his hands on my shoulders too. It just made me remember that, man, we sure do count folks out. We'll survival instinct, so I'm not judging. But it's easy for us to say, oh no, I can't work with that person. I don't have anything in common with that person. And he reminded me of exactly why I do this. Because as soon as we can just push through that, we'll find more family. We'll find more people that we can build with. So I can stop there and just close it up by saying that I'm living out more chapters to this story now. It ends with me saying I'm going to run for Senate against Rand Paul. And since I have this room, I can tell you, it's absolutely wild to be running for U.S. Senate. Every day I'm like, I'm really doing this. And to do it again, what in the world? And yeah, you know, I got my Omnipod, you know, I got to regulate my glucose, and with all this stress and everything, I'm doing it. I've been in the gym. I went to personal trainer 5 this morning. So I'm doing it, but it's still so surreal. But in 22, when I ran, I felt like I had to do it for y'all. Because we had broken through in 2020 on this story of regular people coming together from the hood to the holler. And my message, and they call it affordability now. I don't care what you call this stuff. I'm just tired of folks having to choose between keeping the lights on and putting food on the table. You know, and I see people like Elon Musk becoming trillionaires. What are we, come on, stop it. Stop it. I want everyone to be able to be prosperous, but we cannot allow the beautiful people of Kentucky to be suffering when we pay for a government that's giving handouts to goofy people like Elon Musk. Okay, let me stop there. But we broke through, and there was a lot of momentum. Folks across the country like, who is this black guy from Kentucky? You know, and out in the hollers with folks holding signs that say "No hate in my holler," and we walking and have little ladies beside me with the fist in the air, like, what's going on in Kentucky? So we introduced something, and then in 22, I felt like, well, we got to keep this going. You know, I launched the organization, but I learned the realities of being in these spaces. Like the political status quo is not really designed for regular folks who want people to be okay. There's a lot of money in politics, and it sort of works to secure itself at our expense. And I ran right into that buzzsaw in 22 because we built a campaign with very little support nationally, because this is not a partisan thing that I'm saying. This is not a partisan statement. After I lost I became the first Black Kentuckian to be nominated for U.S. Senate, which is huge. And to do it again, this is it's big. My ancestors were enslaved in this Commonwealth, so chains can still break. This is big. I appreciate that, but when I lost, I thought I failed you. I thought I let you down, and I was like, I'm never doing this ever again. I'll find some way else to fight my fight. I'm not running for anything ever again. I'm gonna go to therapy and I'm gonna do a lot of prayer. And that's what I did. Every Thursday, 2.5 years, I check in. I don't have to do it as frequently now because I've healed up. But I took that time, and this story ended at a point where I was gonna reach my lowest, thinking that I failed you all, reckoning with my relationship with the mother of my children, an incredible woman, and we knew that we needed to go separate ways so that we can be the best parents we could be for our children, and that we could heal up. I write about all this stuff, so you have to read about it. And then just trying to navigate my health. It's been hard last few years, and I've been in the governor's office, director of faith-based and community initiatives. So I've been working behind the scenes with this cabinet, still doing a lot of the same work out in the state, but just without the cameras around. And I tell you, this type of stuff I was done with. But I'm excited that I stayed on the journey and I kept following my heart. And no matter what age you are, I pray you keep following your heart. You're still here on purpose. Because everything that I thought represented a closed door for me was really setting me up to walk in to something that I once thought I would need to sleep on the floor to do. When I interned in DC, I slept on the floor because I was just gonna do whatever it took. And again, I don't know what I'm not here to, this is not partisan. Even if you don't vote for me, y'all know I love you. That ain't about none of that. But I am telling you very factually, we're gonna win this race. And a big part of the story that we'll be telling, I was able to document it in here. So if you haven't read it, I hope you do find time to. If you have, look forward to part 2. I already got the name for it. I'm not gonna say it here. And again, thank you all for letting me just do this life thing with y'all. And again, I really do. I hope I make you proud. So it's 1:08, and I know that folks gotta transition, but if you got some questions, I'm open to it. And Mark, Valerie, y'all pull me. But if you got any questions. Yes, sir.
Robert Smith, my name. What's the deal with Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci? What's that all about?
Oh my goodness, I love that question. So.
I mean, the President of the United States said drink bleach, just so everybody remembers that.
Oh yeah. What was it, the ivermectin? And Rand Paul's an interesting fellow. Him and heard that chuckle. And it's been funny. Our politics has been so ridiculous now that the rare moments that there's been some people in the room with a little bit of courage, it's ended up being Thomas Massey and Rand Paul. It was like, what are we doing when they're the ones? But in this case, this is one of those things where he is, like we say, a broken clock can be right 2 times a day. This is where he's absolutely wrong. But he's latched on to it. And it's been really surreal to witness the way that, now this was something that devastated us globally. And we're still working our way through, and it will be with us as things continue to evolve. But he is a really big conspiracy theorist. And this is the part where the libertarian aspect sort of runs off the track a little bit. I do have a lot of alignment with folks who want government out of the way. I just think it means different things. But in this case, I think they have found a story that people are vulnerable to and have latched onto it to deflect. But for him, he really believes it. And that's one of the problems. He needs to read this because he needs to come out of his silo. If you stay in a cocoon where you think your view of the world is the only view of the world, and your view is being informed by the most ridiculous conspiracies, then you will build your policies and you will engage and treat people based off of that. And that's sort of what he does. It is something that I at least appreciate the fact that I know who they are. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, sure, there are very valid critiques about government across the board. How do you navigate a pandemic in the right way? Who wants to bear that responsibility? Because no matter what you do well, you're gonna miss something. And what you miss could cause a lot of people a lot of harm. That's the risk in being in public service. It's the risk in doing the work that you all do, is that you know that even with the best of intentions, you're gonna make a mistake, you're human, you're gonna miss something. Something's gonna happen beyond your control. So sure, we could have a very real conversation about how we help make our country safer, how we take on diseases and viruses so that we can be healthier. That's not what they're doing. And it really does speak to why people are so sick of politics. It's like people are struggling to keep food on the table, seeing these cuts to Medicaid, and the way that so much has been flipped upside down, and this is what you want to do. And I mean, again, I ain't gonna get too political here. To grill Anthony Fauci, this man is nearly 90 years old, has dedicated his life, and whatever criticism you can have, they knew that they were just making a show out of it. But when it comes to our senior senator, listen, you all, this is House of Cards stuff. Like I said, if you want to turn the camera on, this is House of Cards stuff. We really don't know what's going on with them. And it shouldn't even be that much of an issue. If he's not feeling well, if he's having health issues, there's a lot of ways they could have just honestly made that clear, and everyone would just move on. And we'd get ready to win this seat in November. And like I said, there's a lot of bills he's not voting on. So, there wouldn't be a whole lot of complaints, except for the fact that the secrecy around it. And if anybody was gonna be the watchdog on a conspiracy, it would be a Rand Paul and a Thomas Massey. And the fact that folks aren't saying anything is just beyond me. I'm ready for that, though. I will go into the crazy house for you. Yeah. So y'all coming too, though. I'm not letting you off the hook. We going together. All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have sort of a two-part question. So you're writing the second book, nebulously maybe, but what's the number one difference between 2022 and running in 2026?
Yeah, the number one. Okay, so you said part two. That's part one.
Answered part one.
All right.
Part two, it's a whole other story.
Okay, so what's the number one difference is the world around us.
Yeah.
That's the number one difference. The powerful part about that is that my message now is actually the same message I had when I was in high school. When I was in law school, hunting down members of Congress so that I can get an internship. I went back to read old emails. I was saying the same thing. So this really has been put in my heart since I was a child, and I've been really true to it. And I think that's why I have built so much support now from across the board, because people have largely come to say, okay, he really does believe what he's saying. This really is who he is. But the world around us has changed. Man, Donald Trump has flipped everything upside down. And whether you support him or not, you can't deny that. This man has flipped everything upside down, and it's exposed a lot of the realities of where we are as a country. And I think it has caused a lot of people to say, okay, well, maybe Charles ain't that crazy. Saying everybody should have health care. Maybe he's not that crazy now. That's been it. And the powerful part about this for me is that I said you start to win when you lose, especially when you take it in and determine, okay, what do I do with this? And so now I'm wiser, I'm stronger. I've actually taken time to love myself. You know, when I first went to therapy, my therapist was like, well, when's the last time you told yourself that you love yourself? When's the last time that a male figure in your life said he loves you? I hadn't had that since my granddad passed. And I didn't even think about it, because I love y'all, but I hadn't stopped to think about that I need to love myself too. So I'm better, and then just the word is ridiculous, and so it shined a light on, we gotta do this work. I think if we could just not deal with the deepest pains of our country and just be okay, I wouldn't skip that either. But we're being forced to reckon with where we are. We can't run from racism. We can't run from the bigotry. We can't run from it because they're exploiting it. They're weaponizing it. And if we run from it, they're just gonna chase us with it. So I that's the biggest thing.
Oh, the part two.
Oh, there we go. Good job. Yep. Yep.
Unfortunately, my vote is not a vote you can earn because I live in Indiana. So what the hell do I do?
Man, well,
It feels hopeless right now on the other side of the river.
oh, good, yeah. Yeah, there needs to be a hood to the Holler type of story in Indiana too.
Yeah,
I know. You know, although you can't vote for me, we're standing together, and I'm working for you. And of course, what we do, especially U.S. Senators, for all the country. But one of the biggest things that you can do, and all of you can do, is help tell the story. Our biggest obstacle is not that people are ready for change. They are. We all are. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody's frustrated. If you've been to a No Kings demonstration, there's hardcore Republicans out there, independents out there, young people, young at heart. Everybody's frustrated. But in a place like Kentucky, nationally, we get counted out before they even start the conversation. Indiana, I mean, that's definitely something we got in common, where there's just foregone conclusions. Don't even look at them. This is real, in spite of what the national narrative says. And we just gotta help, we gotta keep telling the story. So tell your neighbors to look at what's happening here, to take another look, to check me out and hold me accountable. But most importantly, don't be quiet. Find ways to make a little noise. Or a lot of noise.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
In your political opinion, what age do you think should be appropriate for a senator to give up their seat?
I think it's more about capacity and the ability to do the job than it is the age. Because man, I was just with, where was I? Oh, I was in Chicago. And I was with, of course, I'm talking about the campaign, and there were some guys in there that were almost 80 that I could not keep up with. You know, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be like you when I grow up. So, you know, it's less about age as opposed to just capacity. And, you know, there's so much wisdom that, man, we hurt ourselves when we count that wisdom out. But I do believe there should be term limits. We should not have folks in office building an entire career out of, Mr. McConnell's been in office since I was 2 weeks old. What are we doing? Shouldn't do that. Let's draw the line there, you know. But yeah, that's the thing. And you know, a big part of this campaign and the work I do is inspiring more people, younger folks, people who don't see themselves in these spaces. Because a lot of the rooms, the folks are twice my age or almost, and which again, there's a lot of wisdom in that, but there's also a lot of perspective that's not there, and we need that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Booker.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for a good talk. Thank you for a good question. Thank you for a good book.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Come back again.
I will, and if you haven't gotten a book yet, I told the library I'm going to work to get a box of books brought back over here. They are sold in local bookstores. You can find it online too. If you get one, I'd love to sign it for you.
All right, thank you.